panel discussion today, as shown in your program booklet, is New Wave Literature. And we're going to discuss where the literary movement is headed to. I mean, not just in terms of piecing words together, but how to get your work out there and publish your work. We'll also be touching on what's trendy in the literature scene and how to get noticed. To start, let me introduce you to our distinguished panelists for today. First up, we have Ms. Joyce Chung. A huge round of applause. She has been published in international SFF magazines like Cross Genres, Bards and Sages Quarterly, Silverform Magazine, and Embrace SF. Her stories have appeared in anthologies including the Apex Book of Words SF2. Her urban fantasy novels are written under the pen name of Jane Damask, and her YA books are self-published on Smashwords. Now, I will introduce you to our next very distinguished guest, Mr. Kenny Leck. A huge round of applause, please. He is the co-founder of a very well-known local bookshop called Books Actually. It is an independent literary bookstore. He also helms the publishing imprint Map Paper Press and the handmade stationery line Birds and Company Artist, and is a collector. His most characteristic artworks are box assemblages created from found objects. Now, I will introduce Dr. Melvin Stern. A huge round of applause, please. Dr. Stern is the author of the novel Zara, as well as 20 published short stories. His first book-length collection of short stories is forthcoming from YWMF Press. He has also published poetry and academic articles. Dr. Stern served as managing editor for the Victor Springs Review, as well as senior editor and publisher of Carve magazine, as well as an editor for the Government Information Quarterly, and lastly as a co-editor of the Blood and Honey Review. He has also served as editor on a number of very successful independent publishing projects. Currently, he serves as an associate professor of English at the Shantou University in Shantou, China. And lastly, our moderator is Ms. Patricia Low. Welcome her heartily. She has worked as marketing manager with the local publishing house Epigram Books, and she is currently division manager of the merchandising division at Books Kinokuniya. She is actually co-writing a children's book series entitled Sherlock Sam. Now, I will commence the beginning of, now the panel discussion will commence.
Thank you. Thank you, Kiai. And thank you everyone for being here. Okay, maybe we'll start off with a general question to the panelists. What are your impressions of the local publishing and literary scene? Do you think it's growing? Is it shrinking? Is it vibrant? Is there a local publishing and literary scene?
There are vibrant local publishing. I'm supposed to say yes, because I'm publisher, right? There is one. Obviously, we do get a lot of manuscript submissions, and if we were to say to open call for anthology, I'm sure we'll get a lot of submissions also. So, in a sense, yes, I think there is a supply of writing. We will debate the question whether is it constant good writing or half writing in a sense. Vibrant publishing scene, I think that's tricky because offhand you really can name how many local publishers there are, Singaporean publishers that deal not with assessment books, not with academic books, but or medical journals, but they're talking about fiction, literary prose, poems, plays, and well, there's only a few of us. I think the merchandising person from Kino should be able to get me out of that. There's of course First Fruits, not that active anymore, but it's still there. In-house books, the torchbearer for all of us within the publishing industry. And epigram books and Southland Fest and Landmark sometimes on off with one of the members comes out. But those are, and of course Sarah is still around. Those are various ones, yeah, those are few local publishers, which means I don't see it as vibrant then, because there's only a few of us. And the few of us will only put up 20, 30 works a year. We're in a lot of trouble. But then again, in a lot of trouble, meaning that there's still more room for more publishers to come about, for more work to come about. So not having a vibrant publishing scene means that there's more room for improvement. More room for improvement means that you see more work, hopefully. I'm grossly optimistic also in that cause.
I think I should comment on it also. I think the publishing scene is growing. It's still in the embryo state. So it's still growing. And for a writer who writes science fiction and fantasy and or genre fiction or fact fic, sometimes it's hard to approach a publisher. And I always live with this persistent fear of being rejected all the time. And it was true, I was rejected so many times. Okay, so I said, if the world is my stage, so why not? I go overseas now. I submitted my stuff overseas and, well, I got published. But as I said, the local publishing scene is still growing, has room to grow. And it's up to you, right? You young writers here to start more and pitching your work to the publishers, right? That's
I think that Singapore is a good place to be a writer right now for three different reasons. One, it's an emerging writing culture. There's a lot of public support and tentative government support for it. And I think it's going to continue to grow and develop in the next 10 to 15 years. Financially, Singapore has the money to spend on arts, and as an emerging nation, they want to establish an artistic identity. So you're in the right place at the right time. The second reason is that Singapore is, to people outside of Singapore, an inherently interesting place. So even if you think your life is mundane or your experiences are ordinary, to other people in Australia and London and New York and Berlin, your lives and your experiences are quite interesting. And so you have good opportunity to get international recognition. And the third reason is this: we live in an unprecedented time of information and communication. You have access through the internet to virtually every publisher, agent, and writing entity in the world. No one in history has ever had that kind of access before. So if you have the discipline and the initiative to put your work out there, you have really good opportunity to get published.
So the next question is a two-part question. All of you mentioned that the scene is growing. Which areas do you see the strongest growth or the most potential to grow? And also, which area would you like personally to see grow?
That question asked me I guess. I think, we started publishing June 2011. We started with the usual mix, which you get a lot of poetry. So, and of course, we know, through working through the bookstore, running bookstore, we know most of the local writers. And for some reason or another, we get a lot of poetry. I will not go into the history of that, but we did a lot of poetry publications, and there's still quite a number on my hands that will be released. We are hoping for more prose, whether it's short stories, full-length novels. We would really see more full-length novels in any genre, I guess. vampire fiction. That is really good, but on hand I actually have a zombie one and it's really, really good. So that one will see the light of day this year, I hope. Science fiction, speculative, young adult, we have a few more of this year, I hope. We are mixed pop. Vampire Press is really mixed pop. This year you're going to see some photography journals. You might even see maps from us. So I said that question for us, for me, I said because I have almost no. It's a deliberate. What I say, I publish what I like. Vampire Press is run under me anyway. I answer to myself anyway. If it loses money, it hurts the bookstore anyway because everything is funded by the bookstore. So I figured out that if I wanted to publish something, I publish what I like. And if you study something that is an essay on Singapore art, and the essay is fantastic, I say why not? Even though my favorite press is well known for doing more of the literary works, I publish what I like. So that's the question.
Joy?
I don't know if I will provide a very biased point of view, but because I'm a science fiction, fantasy, spec author, so I don't see a lot of it coming out. So I get like a bit jaded sometimes. It's hectic too happy, not angry, a bit frustrated. But as I said, as a writer, you don't limit yourself to what you write, and you have that scope, that freedom, that creativity. Write what you can, and be daring enough to pitch it to the publisher and talk to them. That's all I can say. I mean, I can, all the genres, all the different aspects of writing, okay, like literature, poems, travel writing, novels, go and write. Because I think on the publishing side, publishers are willing to listen right now. Because I think, as I said, Dr. Stern has said, we are at this crucial point. So make use of it.
Young writers often ask me, what do I need to write to get published? And I think what they're asking is, do I write science fiction? Do I write fantasy? Do I write young adult? My answer is, if you want to be famous, write stories about handsome secret agents who track down and kill terrorists, or lonely 17-year-olds who fall in love with mysterious millionaires. Go write, Drek, and sell 5,000 copies a day and make a bunch of money and be famous. But if you're an artist, then you don't care. If you're an artist, you write your story, and you write it your way. So I can't tell you, write young adult fiction, or the next wave is going to be science fiction, or magical realism, or sword and sorcerer fantasy. You have to write what you want to write. You have to write for the purpose of being good. You want to put your story in the best kind of light. It's like a gemstone. You want it in a pretty ring. You don't want it set in a piece of garbage. You have to write your truth. But what form that's going to take and what way it's going to be original, I can't tell you. No one can tell you. Being original defies definition. Being original means you do something that hasn't been done before. How do you do that? I don't know. I tell students, before you can break the rules, you actually have to know what the rules are. And then you know what rules to break and how and when and where to break them.
I guess this leads up to the next question, because it seems like Vancouver Press is putting out more titles this year. There are more local authors willing to go and approach publishers to try to get their novels published. I know that other local publishers are also putting out more books, but so many bookstores in Singapore have closed. So where do your readers come from? Is it like online, or how do you reach out to them?
Yes, bookstores are closing. You know, Punya is our benchmark though, and it's how it to come off. Bookstores closing aside, some close because of very, very poor management. And I think that one we can recognize within, for us within the book we know some close due to very, very poor management. How do we get our books out? For example, today, and I do apologize first. I didn't expect that it's out today. So I prepared 40 complimentary copies of the Babette's chapbook series that I have. There's this title called The Villain Shop by Stephanie Ye. So either you guys can just storm up to the table. Whoever gets the first 40 copies is free. So you don't need to pay outside there. It's free, grab from here. But I only have 40 copies. How do I reach out? How do I sell the books? Okay, books actually, besides being, I think we have that very unique role of being a publisher and bookstore at the same time. And to be honest, I'm better at selling books than publishing books. I can sell you a book better. I'm a better salesman. I can sell you easily. I can make you hard money a book than I think my actual manuscript. So it's hard for you to say travel down to Tiong Bahru to book actually and travel a book. So we say, okay, let's make things easier for everybody, for anybody who might not habitually as a consumer step in a bookstore 12 times a year, makes 1 time a month. But most of you would have heard of, say, the fashion retailer Rockstar by Soon Lee. Can I have a show of hands? Roughly Rockstar by Soon Lee. But most of the younger demographics would know that it exists as such as leisure and portrait painting now. We have our books there. And at first it seems very jarring, you know, they are fashion retailer, they sell tall shoes, they sell clothes, but we have our books there and we see it as a way of reaching out to that audience that would, they do read, you know, but I kind of expect them to travel to Tiong Bahru 12 times a year, especially if they live in Jurong West, you know, and the probability of them traveling to any place of their activities off the road. That's how we sort of try to increase the readership. And at the same time, we try to visit the schools, as much as possible under the so-called book actually bookstore name. That's how we try. And of course, YWMF has always been very supportive because of carrying all our titles thus far. Alright, yeah, I think it's a problem.
So it's a lot more, you have to be a lot more proactive nowadays compared to like last time. As a writer, do you have an opinion?
Yeah, I have a lot of opinion actually. Okay, yes, right now the internet is at our fingertips. Most of us will have a smartphone. Okay, and there are many venues online that allow you to write and post your stories to a worldwide audience. Okay? For me, even though my books are published by US publishers, okay, they are in ebook version, but I also put out free fiction or affordable fiction on in places like Smashwords, Gumroad, and even Wattpad. How many of you know about this place called Wattpad? Only few people there, there are people who know, but Wattpad has become an interesting place because apparently a lot of talent scouts and agents do look at Wattpad and they actually spot, they'll get few, they have actually signed on a few, I think 1 or 2 17-year-old writers. Yes, so it's good out there to put your fiction out there. Okay, if you're daring enough, you want to sell a fiction, maybe sell it for $1.99. Okay, sell it on Smashwords. Okay, as I said, the internet is your world. You can reach out to a wider audience there. I mean, I have readers from Spain, in Turkey, mostly from the US, Australia, UK. So it's out there. You have that means to reach your readers.
I started publishing an online magazine in the year 2000. There was an explosion of online magazines that happened between about 1999 and 2001, and the magazine that I founded is still being published. It's called Hard Magazine, and it was the second online magazine accepted as a member by an organization called CLINP, C-L-N-P, the Council of Literary Magazines and Presses. For a long time, publishers looked at anything that was electronic as though it was second rate. But it was obvious to me then that the future of publishing was going to be electronic. As a business model, I hate to bring business into this, but as a business model, paper, 90% of the cost of a book is the printing, the transportation, the paper itself. If you can eliminate 90% of the cost of something and still sell it, the profit margin goes up. And since worldwide the number of readers, worldwide, not necessarily Singapore, but worldwide the number of book readers is actually declining, the economic model has to change. The industry itself is still in a period of turmoil. The publishers can't decide among themselves, A, how to prevent piracy, and B, how best to distribute the electronic text, either in format or through what companies. My novel was published in print. It's also available through Kindle and Barnes & Noble's Nook. This is the future where books and literature is going to go. I love bookstores. I love bookstore owners. I love books. I'm 57 years old. I grew up reading paper, not pixels. But as much as I love them, I look at the industry and I say, bookstores are going to survive as nostalgia. They're going to survive based upon hardcore book lovers. But you, the young authors, what you have to anticipate is my work is going to be distributed. The thing that to me, young authors don't realize is that publication is not about the actual presence of your text. I had a neighbor when I was living in Florida. Let me go back for just a second here. When I was starting out as a writer, I wrote a book a year for 10 years and never published a word. Not a thing. But I kept doing it. I had a neighbor who lived in a house across the street from me. The guy was a total moron. He went out and he wrote one of these, one of 10,000 If the South Had Won the Civil War novels. You know, one of those changes in some battle and it changes everything, right? He self-published it. He comes over and he shows me this book and he says, look, I'm an author. And I'm like, I wanted to strangle a guy on my doorstep. There's a tremendous temptation to self-publish your work because then you can take something, you know, you can go online and find places and you can go out and talk about it. You can pay them $900 and they'll publish your book and you'll get 4 or 5 copies. Look, that's not publishing. That means nothing. Your book is published when someone else looks at it and says, I like this. This is good enough. And despite the temptation to want to shortcut that and have the book in your hand and say, I'm a published author, it's worth the wait. It's worth the effort to craft your work to get to the point where someone says, I like this and I'll publish it. That's having your work published. Don't shortcut that.
I think with that, it's a very good time to go into questions in publishing. How do I get published? So I guess what the young people would like to know, and I also would like to know, is that what do you guys look for when you select a manuscript or a short story to publish? Which is more important, or is there like a weightage given to literary quality and marketability?
I'll be more straightforward. Hopefully the book can make money. If it's gonna make money, then they don't make money, the bookstore will die. Like I said, the bookstore funds the publishing arm of what we do. A bit too young. Okay, I'll give you an adult. Hopefully there's some sex in it. There's some inside the job, a little bit, between a teacher and a student. So that's the fun part. But that doesn't mean that the book sells very well. You know, it's us, when we take the book, again, personal bias, obviously, I do really publish what we like, and there's multiple factors of how I choose the manuscript. You give me a manuscript, and after that, I have a smaller circle. They do not know who they are, but everything is conducted on email. They are your usual local writers, the more established ones, and I'll ask them for opinions. How competent is writing? Do you think this is good? Sometimes they'll come back to me and tell me that it's total crap. Then I'll say, but I think this one will make money, or it'll make sense to keep it in existence through publishing it, which means the work itself needs a lot of work, a lot of editing, but because of the particular topic that has been tackled and is written, it deserves to be, it deserves to see the light of day, rather than being rejected and it's totally gone after that. The author feels so dejected and say, burn this entire manuscript, and we'll never see into our local literary history. That's how I try to approach publishing. But at the same time, I do bring in more business. I try to bring more business sense into the whole thing. Because every day I wake up and I see bills, so obviously it has to earn money. Businesses, not sure this is the most appropriate place to share upcoming publication. We're still working on it. Elfin Start is providing the forward for it. It's a book that I think will get me into quite a lot of trouble. There's this local playwright. His name is Langoban. Some of you might already know who he is. His plays, when he put it up for performance, sometimes his plays get banned by MDA, which means he can't put it up, and usually he puts it up at substation. So 2-3 months ago, he got his third play banned, Stroma. So in total, he has credentials of having 3 banned plays under him that cannot be put up for performance, but can be put up for publication because he had put up Halak and Smegma for publication. As a publisher, I can't really agree with what he has written. He really pushes the envelope. He doesn't just push the envelope, he takes the envelope and cut you. That's what he does with his writings. In his own world, that's the best way to say it. But then again, his works do deserve to be kept in existence rather than being censored, and we do not get to see. I think we judge a work based on our own personal values. If you read, there's this book that's one of my favorite books it's published by Epigram Spider Boys. I read Spider Boys when I was 14, and I'm very happy that Epigram has that to put it up again. Spider Boys has 2 sex scenes inside, and I was reading at 14. I bought it from Popular Bookstore at IO. So at 14, you shouldn't be reading this kind of things, right? But no, I got lucky, I read it. So it's like, wow, 14, it's like incredible. Oh, why Spider Boys? Must be. But so who says books should be? I don't think I turned out really weird yet. But reading the book didn't turn me into some sex pervert book. But that's the idea of reading, you read as early as possible. Like when I tell customers to buy Catcher in the Rye at the bookstore, if you're buying it before you hit 20, you will have some sort of it will have a more profound effect on you. If you're going to buy it when at age 32, you're spending a family at college and tell me, this is my first time, I'm really Catcher in the Rye, I heard so much about it. Then I think in your 30s, you're not going to get much from it reading it, to be honest. And that's the idea of publishing for us, which is to publish something that sort of pushes the genre if possible, something that we like, that we have seen existed for our local literary history. But as I said, it might not make everybody comfortable, but we leave it to your judge. And you as the writer, you've got to understand that when you write, as Dr. Stern was saying, you write what you believe in, you write what you most enjoy. If you feel that you write vampire fiction, then so be it. Fiction is the most awesome vampire fiction with some.
Coming from, to add on, because I'm coming from a writer's point of view, that we tend to look at trends, right? we like to analyze trends and say, oh, urban fantasy with a lot of leather-clad chicks chasing down vampires and having with her lovers, blah blah blah. Then you have zombies and you have a lot of funny things are trends. But the thing is, trends will come and go. Like bubble tea, trend can come and go. But the thing is, as Dr. has said and Kenny has said, write what you can. Write a damn good story that can grab the publisher's attention forever. And make sure that your stories are so good, right? It grows claws in, sink into his flesh or her flesh. That he or she will remember you forever. Write a damn good story. Yeah.
I'm no longer working in acquisitions, but when I was publishing Carve, we published 6 editions a year, roughly 70 to 80 stories. And I read, toward the end of the last 3 years or so, I was reading 2,000 to 3,000 short stories a year. I didn't look for stories that had any particular style or any particular theme or even any particular genre. I was open to whatever kind of writing the author submitted, provided that it did a couple of things. One, it needed to show me the world that I didn't really know. I wanted to see inside of your life, inside of a life and experience that I hadn't had. 2, it had to deal with some kind of truth. There had to be something more than just a series of events. It had to mean something. And 3, and young authors, I think, are really susceptible to failing in this area. It had to be ruthlessly proofed. It had to be treated with respect. It couldn't be written in a careless and sloppy way. Because for one thing, I've got too much work to do to be your line editor. I can't say that I never took a story that needed a lot of work and didn't edit it. I have done that. But it had to be one hell of a story. I had to really want that story before I'm going to spend 6 or 8 or 10 hours of my time reading your work and going through it and making the sentences right. There is a kind of beauty to language. And you have to make use of that as a writer. So it has to have the right theme, it has to have the right language, it has to mean something, and it has to show something of the world. And you can do that with experimental fiction. I've published work that varied from, takes on Greek mythology to sports stories to almost you name it. Rough street fiction, experimental work. It doesn't matter what kind of work you write. What matters is what kind of effort you put into it, and do you have something to say.
I think quite a few young people in the fiction like to write and put a lot of their imagination and themselves into their stories. But I think also what a lot of new writers don't realize is that once you have your story and you submit it to a publisher, that's just the first step. The publisher might accept it, but after that it's a very long and tedious process of editing. So how would you explain the editing process to a young writer who has perhaps never received much criticism or much feedback into their work? How do you prepare them for the painful